morning, and welcome to another episode of Garden to Table with Rose, and I am Rose. So today I think I am going to do a mini garden tour. It is Labor Day. You won't see this till after Labor Day, so I hope you had a good holiday for all 10 of you that watch this video. So it's been a very busy past week for me. I got my shed installed finally, and I'm sure if you saw the other videos you heard the shed saga. 6 months of waiting. I finally got my shed built this past week, and then for the past 4 days or so I have been painting the shed. So I have most of it painted. The outside I still have to do the trim, and I'll be working on the trim over the next couple of weeks. That's no big rush, and I'm kind of tired of painting. I painted for 4 days straight, so I want to take a little bit of a break. Plus I need the main color to dry a little bit before I tape it off to do the trim. But I thought I would give you a look at that and a look at what's happening in the garden. Now I am in Southwest Michigan, Zone 6A, and our first frost date here is about between October 1st and 15th, somewhere in there. So the season is winding down. Right now I am transitioning over to fall crops, cool weather crops. So things that don't mind a little bit of cold weather or a light frost. So those will be leafy greens, you know, lettuces, mustard, scallops, kales, Asian greens, any of the brassicas, so cauliflower, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, that good stuff. So I am transitioning over to those. I have tons of seedlings inside in my little greenhouse steps, and I'm going to be hardening those off within the next 2 weeks and planting those out in the garden. In the meantime, I've been trying to clean up my beds and pull out the summer stuff and make room for the new stuff. And also I need to amend the soil a little bit, which just means adding some composted manure to it, pretty much. All right, it's early in the morning. I have to do these things early while it's still cool and before all the neighbors come out, because they tend to make a lot of noise. And I'm sorry about the lighting in here. I'm inside the shed, so there are 4 windows in here, but it's still fairly dark because the windows, you see the windows, they're not that large, so it's still fairly dark. There's also 3 skylights. I thought they were going to be clear skylights. When I think skylight, I think a clear opening so that sun can come in, but instead they're opaque. Now I do think they let in some muted light, but it wasn't what I was going for. My goal with this shed is to use it primarily as a potting shed, as they say. So it's not a greenhouse, obviously, it's a shed, but and I can't control the heat and the humidity and all that stuff, but I still can harden off seedlings in here. I can leave things out to cure that need to cure before they can go inside. You know, things like onions and squash. Those things potatoes, they need to sit out, usually in a dry space, for a few days before you can store them successfully. So I'm going to show you what I got going on so far, and we'll go from there. All right, so the shed, let me see if I can pan out here a little bit. All right, so I'm standing in the doorway. There's a workbench that came with the shed with a big old pegboard wall, which would be cool for gardening tools. There's another shelf, and then a loft area at the top. So it'll be good for storage. So all of that came, I believe, standard. I did not get any internal shelving anyplace else because I'm putting my own stuff up to specialize it for what I want to use it for. These skylights, there are 3 of these see if I can get a better view of them. 3 of these, and they light in, like I said, some muted light, but I wanted bright light coming in as much as possible, so I still have to caulk around those. Well, I don't have to, they didn't tell me to, but I'm going to. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to also caulk the inside of these windows. I mean, there isn't really much of a gap in between the window and the wood, but I'm still going to caulk it all. Just to be on the safe side. It can never hurt to caulk. Over here on this wall, there's one window. I got this little table that I'm going to use as a little work table also, or whatever, for whatever. I'm going to cut a 2x4 and put some more horizontal boards across, just across this expanse, and probably this one over here, because I want to be able to hang garden tools. I got all these nifty hangers that I ordered from Amazon, this whole set. So I got a ton of these. I'm not gonna probably use all of them out here. I may use some in my actual garage, but I'm gonna hang my little gardening shovels and rakes and hoes and pickaxes. All that stuff can be hung up. And what I decided to do, because I don't have any power or water in this little shed, this is a 10 by 12, if I didn't mention it before. I'm hanging solar lights, okay, so that's gonna be my solution to the darkness. And I thought it would just look nicer with some light in it. So I got these little, if I can hold one up. These are pendants that, hanging pendants that I got from Amazon. They're solar. I didn't even know they made, I know they make solar pathway lights. I got a ton of those, but I didn't know they made other kinds of solar lights. Anyway, I got 2 of those, and these big solar panels go with them. There's a, 15-foot cord or something, so I'm gonna mount these, I think, at the roof line, and then just string the cord. And I got some little, these little cords, ties, cable ties, I don't know what you call them, but that's to secure the cord to the beams so that I can run it out and not be hopefully too noticeable. So if we go up to the ceiling, this is like the middle cross beam here. Well, it's not really in the middle, but it's the only one they put going horizontally at the roof line. So my thought was I'll hang them both, one at equal distance apart, one at one end and one at the other, and just kind of have them hanging there, but not too low, because that's the walkway. Like, the door is right there. There's a double door, but the door is there. So I'm probably going to hang those there, which is what I plan to get done today. I also got these little wall lights. So these are solar as well, and these are cool because the solar panel for these is built into the top. So these are going to go outside the 2 doors, the barn door, one on either side. So you can see those. I'm excited about those. I really like those. And then, that's not all. Then I got these little solar pathway lights, which kind of go like that. And these are just, the typical pathway light that you would use a stake for. You stake them in the ground. And they're plastic. This is cheap stuff. It wasn't super expensive, so, which is good because I've spent a lot of money on this whole shed project. So I try to do it as practically as possible. But those are going to line either side of the ramp. And they also change colors, which I thought was neat. Now, in terms of my plants and stuff like that, I have this big shelf. I actually have a second one of these that I'm going to put together, but these are going to sit along this wall, and there are 2 windows on this side, and these are just the wire shelving, but these are actually blue, a dark blue, which you don't see them in color very often, but this is a dark blue one that will that blends in with the, with the color scheme. I also got a couple more green stalks. These are brown ones. I don't have brown. I have two in this box, and they were like clearancing out that color or something, which is why I got them. So they were discounted a bit, and I'm gonna put those outside next spring. I'm not gonna set them up now because the season is ending, but I'm gonna put those outside on either side of the ramp as well, kind of as you walk up to the shed. So that'll be pretty when they're full of flowers and plants. Yeah, that'll look nice. So yeah, so these shelves, like I said, I'll put trays of plants. I will put whatever else I need to store. There are certain plants that have to be overwintered inside that I have in big pots, like my fig trees, and what else? The citrus little trees. So I will probably bring all those in here. I'll also wrap them because there is no heat in here. And I think I'm going to bring my garlic in here this year. As you know, last year's garlic was an epic fail. It just rotted when spring came, and I planted it in the fall like you're supposed to. It was well drained. I used big fabric bags. I covered it, mulched it, strawed it, everything. And yeah, then they just rotted came spring, so I was kind of disappointed. I didn't get any garlic, and I really like garlic, so I am going to bring them in and see if that makes a difference in here. These pots are lined up here because they have fall bulbs in them, which obviously bloomed a long time ago. But my plan is to take all those out. Those were excess bulbs that I had, like tulips, daffodils, whatever, stuff like that. And I had extras last fall, so I just threw them in the pots that I had sitting around, and then I set them out. They were pretty. I set them out like in the front on the porch. But I'm going to take those bulbs all out because I am going to use them in my next project, which I will explain. Bella's chilling. Bella likes the shed. So does Luca. Those two keep coming in. They seem to be really into it. She's chilling like a villain. All right, so let's go outside. See if I can get back without falling. All right, so there's the outside. So you see those 3 skylights at the top, and then there are flower boxes, 3. There's one on this side, and there's 2 on the other side. And I just started on the trim. You see a little bit of white there, but all of that still has to be painted. And of course, in the spring, I'll put flowers in the window boxes. It'll be awesome. And then the corners are going to be white too. And then the doors, these little cross pattern pieces of wood, all of that trim around the door is going to be white as well. And this color blue I really like. I actually wanted it probably, well no, actually this is about the shade. I wouldn't mind one shade darker, but that's kind of minutia. But I wanted a dusty blue, like a gray blue. I just really like that color for siding. It's a color that I've just started to see the last few years on houses, on, like vinyl siding. But I really like that color, and if I were getting new siding, that's kind of the color I would get. My house is white, and I did not want a white shed. It would have matched the house, but I'm not big on white houses. So, and then this is the other side. There is at least 6 feet around, 5 or 6 feet around this in the back, so I can get in there and do what I need to do. Plus, that's one of the township rules. If you have a shed, it has to be at least 5 feet from the fences, from your fence line. I did have to relocate this cherry tree, unfortunately. I have that ladder there so the dogs won't dig because there's compost there. Composted manure, and they like to dig that stuff. So I put that there as a block. But my poor tree, this cherry tree, I had to move it because it was on the side of the shed, fairly close to the shed, and it would have gotten tall enough to block out the light in those 2 windows. So that defeated my purpose. Initially, I had planned for the shed to be more in the over near the trees. I had planned for the shed to be, let me try to turn around again, like here, in this spot. And so that wouldn't have been an issue, but for whatever reason, the guy, probably because maybe it was more easy to level it over there, but that's where he wanted to put it. And I wasn't going to argue too much with him after I waited 6 months. And he came in complaining about the fact that he had to walk from the gate over there. Let's get real, this is like a subdivision backyard. He had to walk from there to here to bring all the supplies, so he was already irritated by that. But anyway, the poor cherry tree. I fed it and watered it, and it's rained. It's rained for the last couple of days, but it's still stressed, as you can see by the leaves that are kind of drooping down. They were worse, the ones at the bottom. The ones at the top have died. So this tree will be pruned this fall. I'll wait a month or so, as it gets cooler, but I'm going to prune it back to wherever, it looks good. I know that top part has to go. And this is new growth. This is all new growth, which is wilted off. So yeah, it had to be moved. Also, I'm having issues with this tree. This is a cherry one too. I don't know what's up with the cherry trees, but this one also, the leaves have all died, so I'm going to have to prune this one back. And this one, the bark looks like something chewed on it, and I do not believe it was the dogs, because they don't touch, generally speaking, they haven't really touched these trees. I mean, they might have gone psycho or something and decided to bite on it, but that's not usually something they would do. And it's all the way down. Like if my dogs bit it, it would be gone. It would have snapped it in two. So it's like scratched all the way down the dang on bark. So I don't know if some animal was able to get in here, some little animal, and went to town. No idea. The dogs usually keep all the animals away, so, but who knows. So that one's going to have to be pruned. These other trees are doing great. The only thing I've done is spray them because bugs want to chew the leaves, of course. But look how tall these, I think those are nectarines. No, that one's a pear. Yeah, that's a pear, and the two in the back with those long skinny leaves, I believe, are nectarines. But they've all grown so much. When I got all of these, they were about the size of this one with no leaves, about 3 feet. They were bare roots. Very young ones because they were less expensive, and even the young ones were expensive. I mean, so it added up. Because I got about 15 trees. So it was quite a chunk of money. Anyway. So those have grown that much over this one season, so I'm pretty happy. They seem to be taking to things pretty well. Now my yard is a hot mess, and that's because it's under reconstruction. So this bed, which I've talked about, which I hardly ever tend to, which just basically had some onions, leeks, and Brussels sprouts, which are huge. The bugs were tearing up these Brussels sprout leaves. I did spray. It's rained again, so it needs to be sprayed again. But what I decided to do, I came over here and cleaned it out, did all the weeding, and decided to extend it out. One, so I can plant more stuff, and then if I extend it out, it will be in line with the grapes and berry arbor thing. So yeah, I wanted kind of an even line. So I have all this cardboard down and a tarp, because I ran out of cardboard for the moment, to kill the grass, so that I can then get my little machine tiller, my little electric tiller, and till this up and extend these rows out and extend the fencing out as well. Got to have the fencing because if I didn't have fencing, the dogs would dig up lots of things. So the fencing is important to keep them out. So yeah, that's my plan here. So, work in progress. All of this stuff I got going on will be completed within the next 3 weeks. It has to be, because, for the most part, because I got to get stuff planted, and that can't really wait too long. I got a lot of onions here. You can see those. Lots of onions, which I'm surprised, because these were all seedlings that I planted too early, and I thought they all died. Actually, probably most of them did die, and I just came out and threw down seeds. I think that's what I did, and they grew. So they're not spaced well. They're kind of bunched together. It doesn't matter. I'm just happy I got something. So those will be harvested once the tops die back a little bit. This is another cherry tree, I believe. Tags down in there somewhere. This one seems to be doing well. I mean, the leaves have been chewed on a little bit by, when it does this kind of thing here, those are definitely, I don't know if you can see that, but it's like multiple little holes. It makes it look like lace. Those are those beetles. These black and green and orange beetles. I can't remember if they're Japanese beetles or what, but it's a big beetle that likes leaves. All right, so the grapes and berries, vines, most of them are growing very prolifically, very well. So I'm not doing anything with them. I haven't even fertilized them, nothing. I'm just letting them do their thing, and then next spring I have to try to figure out some way to get them under control. With the grapes, I only want 2 branches coming off. I want 2 branches coming off to kind of form a T for the grapes. This grape has produced a little baby bunch of grapes. I was surprised I came out here and saw this. So I can get in there. This is a Somerset seedless grape. That's an eating grape. Like I said, I just planted things in the spring, so I wasn't really expecting anything to happen other than leafy growth, but here's some grapes. I'll wait a little bit, and I'm certainly going to harvest them and eat them. Hopefully they're good. And then up front are berries. They're growing. There's only one that's not doing that well. It's growing, the loganberry up there in the front, but it's growing slow. I got my 2 elderberry trees, bushes in big pots because I don't want those to get out of control. This grapevine isn't growing that fast either. It's growing. It was only, 4-inch pot, a tiny, tiny little thing when I put it in, but it certainly isn't growing as fast as the others. Now, it's not getting as much sun as the others either because it's kind of hidden by this gigantic sunflower here. 2 sunflowers that are gotten massive. That's a different one than the huge ones. I can't think of the name of it, but it's pretty. It's a much slimmer, skinnier one, and it kind of grows multiple sunflowers on one stem versus the gigantic snacker one I have. Now this was a disaster. This vine that I planted of this harvest moon squash, which I had no idea would get as big as a pumpkin. I thought it would be like a, like a regular old little squash, winter squash. But anyway, it produced a massive number of squash, at least for one vine. I mean, I had to cut it off because it kept flowering. It just wouldn't stop. It's going all the way up this fence line. So I cut it so that these ones that are here can mature so I can harvest them. They're not, I'm waiting for the stem to kind of dry out and the whole thing to kind of dry out before I harvest them. So they're just waiting. But there are some up in there. I also got some black, or not black, but dark green little acorn type squashes. There are several types. There's some white squash way over there. I think they're called mashed potatoes or something like that. But these huge ones, there are at least 6, 8, at least, there's one up close. There are tons of red ones in there that I have not had a chance to harvest. I have a whole bucket on the porch that I need to process first. Tons of cherry tomatoes. This whole row was cherry tomatoes. That whole row was regular sized tomatoes. So in there are many. So I'm waiting for all those to get right before I pull that stuff out. My peppers, here's one that you should be able to see. There it is. Okay. That is called the Harvest Moon squash, winter squash. My peppers and eggplants, as you know, were decimated, but some of them survived and they're doing pretty well. This eggplant, I don't know if you can see, it has long, green, skinny eggplants. Maybe it's called long green. It's an Asian one. It's pretty good. I've cooked 1 or 2 of those. I got little jalapeno type peppers. I planted multiple color jalapenos, which I think the bunny ate. But there are also natapenos. There's a big bush of those right there, which are jalapenos that aren't very hot. That's why they're called, well, they shouldn't be hardly hot at all. That's why they're called natapenos, because they got no heat. So those are going. I got a bunch of Cubanails in there too. They're doing okay. This cute little one here, I don't even know what this is called. I have to go look through my stash, but it is a tiny little purple pepper that's like a little ball. And they're all over the tree like Christmas tree bulbs. It's very pretty. So I don't know if that's supposed to be super hot or what. Basically, let's see. I got about 10, it looks like pepper bushes that survived out of maybe 20, 25. I planted a lot of them. This is a compost pile that I'm building with all the stuff I pull out. Throw some brown matter in there. I got a bunch of brown wrapping paper, and of course leaves when the leaves come. But I'm just going to leave that sit over winter, and hopefully by spring I will have some compost. Over here, these are the 2 rows I've been pulling out, so that's where I'm going to plant the fall vegetables soon. Yeah, so, and actually I pulled out that corn row, I've pulled out the sunflower row. Anything other than the sunflowers I've pulled out. I'm leaving the sunflowers for the birds. I don't really need that row right now, so they can stay. A friend of mine told me you can also just cut the tops off and hang those from your fence as well. I'm not going to do that this year. I got enough stuff to do. I'll just leave them and then hopefully work it into the dirt come spring. This big tall thing that's flowering is actually several fennel bulbs that have to be dug out. I have pulled out almost everything over here. I had this squash plant here with a green striped squash that would not stop producing. I mean, that thing was at least 5 feet wide, the span of it, at least. It was huge. I pulled that whole thing out. There's just one squash plant I left, I think because there was something on it growing and it was a different kind. I can't remember what kind, but I left that one over there. It might have been a winter one, like that mashed potato white one, I think. I have planted all of my fall root vegetables. They're all in bags, and little seedlings are coming up. There's carrots and beets and turnips and that kind of stuff. I pruned back that big horseradish plant. It's huge. Sweet potatoes are not ready yet. They are still going strong. The only thing left in this field are my perennials. There's that big sage plant, which I pruned back. That thing was humongous too. There are a few dying, dead sunflowers with seeds. These are mostly all berry bushes over here. And I planted a lot of that other stuff because they were so small and I was trying to keep weeds from taking over. So you gotta, if you don't want weeds, you gotta plant something that's not a weed to compete with them. So that's why I had all the cucumbers and stuff over here, but all that's done. These tomatoes, there's a couple of squash plants in here too, are still ripening bit by bit, so I've been harvesting those as needed. This is the Clancy potato, which was from seed. I actually planted tiny seeds, and so that one obviously matures a lot later than if you use potato sets or seed potatoes. So I'm waiting. I'm about to harvest that. It's kind of wilted now. I still get onions over here. They're still going. Some of them have died back this container, so it might be time to harvest those. The red ones are still kind of green. I got, like I said, turnips and beets and stuff in here that are coming up. Seedling stage. Probably need to spray those too for the bugs to get them. These are hibiscus. I think I got like 4 of them here, or 5. I'm waiting for them to flower so I can collect the flowers. Those are annuals, I believe, so those will be coming out. Lots of little berry bushes. That one I think is echinacea. It's either echinacea or valerian, one of the two. And then there's some marshmallow over there. There was a bunch of parsley. That was a huge parsley plant, so I've pretty much stripped that one. The lavender is dying back for hopefully it'll return. Hopefully. Lavender is fickle, so, but it was beautiful. It did grow. It was only a third of that size when I got it. So that's what's going on over here. That's all I got in the garden, I believe, right now. My raised bed, I planted a bunch of kohlrabi in there for the fall. The celery is still going strong, and there's still some sunflowers in there. I got my green stalks here, and the green stalks are interesting. I trimmed the one down that had all the mint and the toothache plant and all that in there, and now it's regenerated. So it's like a second flush, second summer of it. So I'm kind of happy about that. So I get more toothache plant, which that stuff really does numb your mouth. It is numbing. So, and I imagine you could use it if you made a tincture. You probably could use that for pain relief externally. I mean, you know, so I might try that, or a salve out of it. I got a bunch of it already, but I'm going to harvest that because it is looking healthy and good. I got tons of rosemary, which hopefully will come back. I think rosemary is a perennial. We'll see. Tons of mint. These different mints I had have all come back, which is good because I missed my opportunity. I was so busy with other stuff, I really didn't dry a lot of it. So I'm going to make sure I get some off and dry this time. I even got flowers that have wanted to start blooming now. This is called an ice plant. It looks so unique is why I got it. It's very strange looking. The leaves are like succulent leaves, and then they have like a sparkle to them. They have something on the outside. It's not sticky or wet, but it looks like glitter almost. So that's pretty cool. I got, and this one, these two brown ones I moved over here from by the grapes. I got some stevia and eucalyptus. The eucalyptus I need to harvest. It's drying out. Stevia, lots of that, which I usually dry that and then grind it up. You can use it as whole leaves too if you're making tea or something, but a lot of times I just grind it up and put it in a container and then use it for sweetening. These cool pansies are blooming. These are like a midnight something. They're like a dark purple that almost looks black. You can see that. See if I got another one. But they're really pretty. There's a couple of them. There's one. So that's all that's going on. I'm probably going to plant my lettuce in these green stalks just because it's easy to harvest out of these. And going on right now in my garden, I will be working to plant my fall crops, to get my new bed dug out and fenced, to get my shed finished off, painted, the lights up, and that'll be all done. But hopefully harvest some peppers and some more eggplants before it's done, finish canning tomatoes, get the onions out, and sweet potatoes, tons of sweet potatoes. Those are coming at the end. And that is it. All right. So thank you for joining me, and I hope to see you next time for another episode of Garden to Table with Rose. And if you haven't already, like the video and subscribe to the channel, which helps the channel continue to make videos.